So Rahul Gandhi has been criticizing the government over the Ladakh clash. First, he put out a video on Twitter asking "Kaun hai zimmedar," slyly insinuating government responsibility for the loss of soldiers' lives. And then he, in a succeeding tweet, said that the government was fast asleep and that they denied problems. Now, in the spirit of the opposition, let's take his questions and put them to the test. How pertinent are they? I'm going to turn to our defense expert, Prakhar Gupta. Prakhar, welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Let me begin with the first question. Rahul Gandhi is obviously holding the government responsible, right? Why did the Indian troops not use their weapons, if they had any, during the clash?
Karan, as we now know, the Indian troops were carrying weapons, as the foreign minister has confirmed. They did not use them because in 1996, a government propped up by Rahul Gandhi's party, which is the Congress, and led by H.D. Devagowda, who is his current ally in Karnataka, signed an agreement with the Chinese government regarding confidence building measures and the conduct of troops along the LAC, which is the line of control, which divides Indian and Chinese troops in Ladakh and elsewhere. So the agreement says that we can't use firearms in the vicinity of the line of actual control. Sorry. So it was following this agreement that our troops did not use the weapons. This agreement was signed in follow-up to one signed in 1993 by a government of Congress led by P.V. Narasimha Rao. UPA 1 and 2 governments, which were controlled by Sonia Gandhi from outside, also signed similar confidence-building measures, agreements for confidence building between the two sides in 2005 and 2013. So we were following these agreements simply.
Right. Prakhar, let me just press you a little bit on that. The agreements you're talking about are from 93, 96, a decade later, 2006. But the BJP has been in power for so many years, and the Chinese problem is not new to India. So why wasn't there any effort to change the rules of engagement?
We in India, currently we follow a principle of continuity in our foreign policy. Governments change. There is an option to change government in Delhi in every 5 years. And if we start doing away with agreements which we've signed with foreign powers and countries and allies and enemies over the years, every 5 year when the government changes in Delhi, nobody's going to take us seriously outside India. So we need to, follow those agreements, even if they have been signed by previous governments, even if they have been signed a decade or two ago and do not hold, are not good enough in the current situation. We have to stick to those agreements. We can't disregard those agreements when it comes to military, especially because confidence building measures take a lot of time to be negotiated and then put into practice. So we can't give up those agreements. Plus, Karan, I would like to state that we have been building border infrastructure quite at a faster pace compared to previous years, and our troops, as we build more infrastructure on the border, our troops will come in contact with the Chinese side more frequently than they used to in the past. And if we, give up on these agreements and there are fisticuffs and then they translate into fighting with guns, we are going to end up in a much worse place than we are right now. So we don't want to give up on those agreements just yet. Of course, I think it's past the right discussion, but I think Rahul Gandhi can ask more pertinent questions in the better way, because we right now need our politicians to be on the same page.
Right. Prakhar, let me ask you a very core question, because it was very disheartening for all of us in India to know that the Chinese soldiers were attacking Indian soldiers with clubs and rods, and it paints a very grim picture. Let me ask you this. Were Indian soldiers unprepared in that situation?
I wouldn't say they were unprepared, as Subramaniam Jaishankar, the foreign minister, has said. They were carrying weapons as per the protocol, hung on their shoulders, turned back. So they certainly had their weapons, but no government in the world, Karan, would accept that their troops also carry sticks and rods. I mean, Indian and Chinese troops have had fisticuffs in the past. We saw one during the Doklam crisis when the tensions were very high, and on the northern bank of the Pangong Lake, Indian and Chinese troops fought each other. But then too, they did not resort to use of guns. And they have had experience with the Chinese side before, so definitely they must have been carrying some, improvised weapons when they went on their patrol.
Right. Now, Prakhar, 10 soldiers, including 4 officers, were said to be in Chinese hostage in Chinese custody, and they've been released. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, initially we started hearing reports soon after casualties were announced, and then the figure was upgraded to 20. And then soon after we heard that some Indian soldiers were in Chinese custody, which proved to be true. They were released yesterday evening after 3 days of negotiation, or 2.5 days of negotiation. And government was right to not give this information out to the media, because we want the government to negotiate from a position of strength. We don't want undue internal pressure from opposition parties, from the people. This is an emotive issue, and people are coming out on the streets protesting. We don't want pressure on the government, which forces it to negotiate and give away things which it would not want to in negotiations with the Chinese. So it was the right decision to not give out this information for the last 2 days.
Right, right. Prakhar, just finally, of course, both sides would want to be de-escalating the situation, not trying to amp it up in any way. But just for the future, what do you think are India's military options with respect to China, if any?
Karan, there are two types of options militarily. We have short-term options, which immediate options, and long-term options. India has been over the years, or I'd say for 2 decades, been working on long-term options. Governments after governments have tried to strengthen our relationship with the United States, with other powers in Asia, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and we have this informal alliance of sorts with Australia, Japan, and South Korea, which is called Quad. So our foreign ministers and defense ministers meet regularly. So these are all long-term options. We're also trying to put our best foot forward in the Indian Ocean region. We are in a position of strength in the Indian Ocean region. We're trying to use it to our strength. So all of these are long-term options. But in the short term, I don't see very viable military options, because, as we know, Chinese have built up forces all along the border. We have seen reports of forces being built up opposite Himachal and Uttarakhand, opposite Sikkim, in Chobe Valley, in the eastern part, along north of Arunachal Pradesh. We've seen reports of forces being built. So the option of doing tit for tat and occupying Chinese land and then forcing them to negotiate is not going to work. It may actually spiral out, and we don't know. Once a shooting war starts, nobody knows where it will lead to. So we certainly, I personally believe that we don't have immediate military options with Chinese. It's just diplomacy.
Right. Thank you so much for your insights, Prakhar.
Thank you for having me.